Next up, a man you probably heard on these airwaves before, but whether you know it or not, he's been a key player behind the scenes for In the Money Media over the last couple of years. He's also a good friend, but don't tell him I said that. He's coming to us from Southern California, as those surfboards suggest. He's Andrew Brown. What's up, buddy?
Pete, I've just been got back from the track. I've been out at Del Mar the last few mornings, just soaking it all in, waiting for all the Europeans to arrive. You know, it's just a fantastic time here at Del Mar. Brings back a lot of memories from 3 years ago. The weather's been spectacular as always, 75 and sunny. And yeah, can't wait to get for Friday to swing around.
I'm feeling the FOMO, brother. We should point out you live, what, 3 furlongs from the Del Mar Oval out there, which you did not do 3 years ago. So a little bit different. It's a home game for you this time. But how about this? It's a home game where you have participation through your partnership with Little Red Feather, who you met because of me, by the way. I'd like to point that out. You are one of the owners of Ironman Cal, who goes to this Breeders Cup Juvenile Turf with a chance. Give us a quick version of the backstory here of how you got involved with this horse.
Well, you make a good point. I met Gary Fenton from Little Red Feather thanks to you, and I appreciate that introduction, Pete. And I've actually been doing a lot of work for them on their social media and creating content for them over the last 12 months or so. Quick story of how we got involved in Ironman Cal. Now, about 12 months ago, and she won't want me to publicly say this, I got married. Now, part of the present of getting
I love
married,
that your wife doesn't want to publicly admit that she's married to you. I know her, and she's amazing. Her one known flaw is her affection for you. But continue.
Yeah, we weren't even allowed to put it on social media or anything like that. But here it is on In the Money Media. But anyway, now part of a gift that my friends in Australia gave me for getting married was a share in a racehorse in Australia. Now, it has not run a single race. It keeps coming out of training and gets injured and goes back into the paddock and all that kind of stuff. But a few months after they did that, I said to them, hey, we've got a share in a horse in Australia together. Why don't we get a share in a horse in America together? And they said, why not? And I said, here's a couple that we can have a look at through Little Red Feather Racing. Ironman Cal was one of them, a son of Collected, looked to have plenty of potential. So we bought in before his debut over the Del Mar summer. And here we are. And to say it is a dream come true to have a very small share of a Breeders' Cup contender, no matter how bigger odds he's going to be next Friday, is an understatement. 2 of my mates from Australia are actually flying up for it as well. 16 hours on a flight to spend 48 hours here in Del Mar. So it's going to be a great day on Friday. I'm looking forward to them joining us. And hopefully, you know, he doesn't know he's going to be 20-1 or more. So hopefully Ironman Cal can run a big race.
I mean, he's already been a dream come true, getting you a win at your home meet there at Del Mar. Tell you what, looking at the American runners, he's not far behind them. I guess that means we got to talk about some of these horses that are coming from overseas. This is a race where the biggest players in global racing, Aidan O'Brien and Charlie Appleby, have both had an impact over the years. I understand you've got some stats you wanted to share for us.
100%, Pete. Yeah, there's been 17 runnings of this race, and Aidan O'Brien has won it 6 times, including the last 2 years as well with Victoria Road and Unquestionable last year. Charlie Appleby has won it 3 times, most recently at Del Mar with Modern Games, and we all remember what happened that day, so we don't need to go into that here. But if we break it down further, Aidan is 6 for 23 in the race, so just under 25%. And I should add that Ryan Moore was aboard for all 6 of those wins. But if you look at Appleby's stats, he's 3 for 5, or an impressive 60%. So, you know, Appleby, I think, holds the key again in this race this year. It's not a good race for favourites. They are 3 for 17. So that's about 18%, a long way below the historical average of favourites winning the race. And 7 of the last 9 winners in this race were victorious at their last start as well, Pete, which I should tell you, Ironman Cal is one of them. He won the Zuma Beach at Santa Anita.
I knew you'd want to throw that stat in there. No, when it makes sense with these 2-year-olds with so little form these days that you want to come here on an upswing. One of the Appleby runners, Cudra, recently most seen in the summer, often a key prep for this. This is a race where I've gone back and forth. My instant reaction after was that without the trouble in running, Cudra would have won the summer over New Century. As I look at it again, it certainly would have been closer. I don't know if he would have won. I have trouble separating these two coming out of the summer, Andrew. Do you have an opinion about which one's going to go better here in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf?
Yeah, look, I think Al Cudra's a better horse than New Century. And, you know, I just thought that just as Al Cudra was hitting top gear in the summer stakes, Pete, you know, the jockey had to stop riding not only once, but twice when that eventual third place getter shifted out quite considerably from the fence. And New Century with Ocean Murphy aboard didn't have that interference and sort of won well. When the two met at Ascot before that, the run before that, Al Cudra won by more than 2 lengths on that occasion. And that margin was increasing as they hit the wire over the 7 furlongs. And look, I think Al Cudra is going to take experience from that run in the summer stakes. And to me, he's the one to beat in this race as well. I won't bury the lead. I love that he's a Charlie Appleby for the reasons that we just pointed out, who's won this race 3 times at a 60% clip. But he also, unlike the other Charlie Appleby runners, now has North American experience to hand. So for me, Al Cudra, you know, really just gets the nod over New Century for those reasons I outlined of what happened with that interference in the summer, but also just that when they met before at Ascot, he just clearly looked a better horse.
Let's talk about Henri Matisse for a minute. He did not win his last start. He looked a beast early in the season. Has he gone off the boil here, or do you think he can rebound?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a 2-time Group 2 winner from earlier in the season, but he's hasn't really been, excuse the pun, painting a pretty picture of late, Pete. He just didn't look really interested in that last out run at Longchamp in a Group 1. He was beaten 3 lengths. I just wouldn't really be confident about him handling the Del Mar track, a tighter Del Mar track. And look, he might be able to bounce. And of course, when we see the name Aidan O'Brien and most likely Ryan Moore, we can't discount it, can we? They've run the race 6 times. They've combined for 6 wins in this race. But for me, I think at, you know, a 6-1 on the morning line of what I've seen, he might be a little bit shorter elsewhere. I think he's a play against, and I am willing to take a stab against him and not even put him in my trifecta.
Let's talk about another foreign invader, this one coming from the Far East. There's another show here on the network that folks can check out, where you can hear our analysis of all the Japanese contenders. What do you think the Japanese bring here in the form of Santono Carnival?
Yeah, this is an exciting looking horse, unbeaten in 2 starts, including a grade 3 last out where he looked ultra impressive, sprinted clear over the 6 furlongs and 1 ease down, was the favorite that day. Hard to draw a form line coming against the Europeans and the Americans, but visually certainly looked very impressive over the 6 furlongs. And that was just 3 weeks after he made a winning debut over the 7 furlongs as well. So he had 2 runs back-to-back very closely back in late June, early July. Looks to have a lot of speed. And the interesting thing for me here is that a compatriot of mine, Rachel King, a jockey in Australia, rides. She's going to become the first Australian-based jockey to get a mount at the World Championships, at the Breeders' Cup. She's done a couple of stints in Japan and won grade races for the trainer, Noriyuki Hori, which made her actually the first female jockey in Japan to win a grade race on the flat. So that was a pretty amazing accomplishment. Mr. Hori, a very shrewd trainer. He's got a great record with traveling horses. The horse should be improving, has had some nice time off, has looked really nice in the mornings of the few glimpses that I've seen him, Pete. And I definitely think at those succulent double-figure odds that I've seen out there, that he's one to consider, and certainly one that you want to be throwing into your exotics.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you to speed round 2 more. Then I'm going to give you the word from our sponsor. We'll come back with your play as it stands now, understanding, you know, that, you know, I'm not going to blame you if your play is to bet your own horse. We'll get there. But, you know, sort of a final thought from this far out. But I do want to get a quick word from you on 2 runners we've talked about elsewhere on the network, Mentee and Zulu Kingdom.
Sure. Mentee looks to have plenty of talent, obviously won the Futurity. My question mark with him, does he want to see out the trip? Will he see at the mile? And I'm willing to bet that he's not going to on this occasion, but certainly one to watch going forward. And Zulu Kingdom comes out of the Pilgrim, won that race that day. Certainly want to consider a Chad Brown, but I'd actually liked Noble Confessor in that race, Pete. He struck a little bit of trouble, didn't have the clearest of runs, you know, about a furlong from home, and really hit the wire strongly. I think he's probably the better value out of those two, and he'd be my pick out of, you know, between Zulu Kingdom and Noble Confessor. I'd certainly go with Noble Confessor at the better odds.
Yeah, he's going to be a very big price, I think, to reoppose against him. Just want to remind folks that the video today brought to you by our friends at Twin Spires, and we've got a big news in the contest world, another major happening. It's going to be the 2025 Kentucky Derby betting challenge back in a big way, and this one is going to be able to be purchased into or qualified into through feeders and qualifiers. You can find all that information over at twinspires.com. Andrew, the moment of truth, give us your official wagering thought as of now in this year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to say my heart, obviously, is with Ironman Cal. Let's go, Ironman Cal. My head, I think Al Cudra, for the reasons outlined earlier, I think he's the horse to beat. I think that the odds makers have it wrong at the moment. They've got the markets that I'm looking at. New Century is the favorite, and Al Cudra is about 6 or 7 to 1. And for me, they've got it wrong. That's great value about Al Cudra. New Century, certainly I've got in there for second with the Japanese horse as well. That would probably make up my trifecta. But again, let's go Ironman Cal.
Let's get Ironman Cal in there. An Australian, he might not even know who Cal Ripken is, but he owns a part of Ironman Cal. It's going to be great to see how it plays out on Friday. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew.
No worries, Pete. Good luck, and happy punting at the Breeders' Cup. I hope you back a few winners.
Twinspires.com are back in the tournament game. You can play the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge through Twinspires.com, and you can also start trying to qualify for horse racing's latest major tournament, the 2025 Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. Go to Twinspires.com and click the Tournaments tab.